I wish they would have done a journal for each album like they did for Clancy. Yeah, I mean, the one they did for Clancy starts in Trench and continues through Skilled and Icy and ends with Clancy. So it would have been just three shorter journals if they'd done one for each album. Unless you mean like from a different perspective, right? And I think if they had released alongside the release of Breach, I mean, I felt like Breach just didn't have a ton of merch, especially compared to Clancy. And part of that might have been the quick rollout, certainly, and I acknowledge that's a reality to what they were doing with Breach. But like I said a moment ago, Clancy had a cassette and Breach didn't, which is a small thing, but again, was kind of surprising because every other album has had one. And then also Clancy had, all these other cool merch items. It's true, Breach did have the box sets, and I liked those a lot better than the Clancy box sets, but Clancy did have box sets, right? So it would have been really cool to get a merch item for Breach that was the Torchbearer's journal, kind of his perspective of the entire narrative. Because, again, we haven't been seeing that hasn't been released throughout all these years, so it would have been harder to compile together than the Clancy journal, because that was just a collection of everything that was already rolled out and shown to us. But certainly the I'm Torchbearer video was interesting simply because it gave us, or not simply, but in part because it gave us a perspective on the story that came from the Torchbearer as opposed to Clancy. And so it could have been really cool to get a journal from him as well. I don't know if they could have done a journal for each album necessarily, but certainly more would have been cool to see. What is your favorite 21 Pilots album? It would have to be Trench. I think Trench to me has the most number of songs I really like or find to be some of their best songs. And I really like the music videos best for the Trench trilogy. And I really like the artwork and the album art and the booklet art and all the aesthetics of Trench as well. So for me, kind of every part of it, I really, really like. Breach, I do really like as well. I like a lot of the songs. I don't find that the, aesthetics around it, I like as much. I didn't think they were as involved. Other people have mentioned this as well. It seems like from Clancy onwards, the sort of artwork on these albums decreased. Like they had someone working for Trench and Skilled and Icy, like a creative team that maybe wasn't working with them anymore. Regardless, there's a lot I liked better about Trench from everything that came along with the music. And then I also really like the album, and the music is, I think the music alone, it still would have been my favorite, but everything else really coming with it helps to further solidify that. And I think it means it will be forever undefeated as one of my as my favorite album by the band. I wasn't able to get Clancy's journal. Are you able to find it anywhere else? You could see if someone's reselling it online. I think that really would be it. I mean, obviously all the contents are available on the Demo.org website, or you can compile. There are places that have compiled them on Reddit or like the 21 Pilots fandom and things like that. So all the content is available, but obviously the appeal is to have the physical book. I don't think they're selling that anywhere officially, but resellers probably are. It just probably is expensive. I'm curious whether the band has ever said whether the drum show stream accident was a teaser or an accident. As far as I know, they haven't said anything about it, but I'm pretty sure it was not an accident. That was a teaser. I mean, they had to set the camera up to stream them doing that, and then they had to connect that to a live stream. Like the technical side of what would have had to go into doing that, while not like super, super complex and high end, would have been really hard to do accidentally. Because when they were sitting and filming the music video for Drum Show in that location, they weren't feeding it into a live feed that was connected to their YouTube when they were making the music video. It wasn't like they were streaming offline to film the music video and then accidentally hit go live and made it public, right? They had to set up the fact that they were doing a live stream. So I cannot imagine any way in which that would have been an accident. I'd love a Nika video just to see what he censors or changes. Yeah, just to see his telling of the story, right? In which Clancy is the enemy. And perhaps there are parts which Clancy left out that Nika would tell us about. Whether or not Nika was telling the truth might be another question, right? But still, it could have been interesting to see that and to consider that. To Ethan's point, who says, they probably just resold it, wanting to make a lot of money off of something that valuable. This was something we talked about briefly when it was revealed that this had happened. I think we even talked about it in a live stream. How do you resell something like this, right? to Just a Vulture's point, what do you even do with something like this, right? But, you know, do you just have it, but you can't show it to anybody because then they'll know you stole it, right? Unless you lie to them and they don't know anything about 21 Pilots, but then they wouldn't necessarily appreciate the significance of it, right? You just tell a random friend, well, hey, I have this, you know, USB drive that I bought as an official limited edition merch item from 21 Pilots, and they're, you know, they'd just be like, cool, I don't care because I don't care about 21 Pilots. Or they know about 21 Pilots and presumably heard about this, right? And so they'd be like, what are you doing? You stole that. So you can't really show it to people, or there certainly isn't much point in showing it to the people you can show it to. But then how do you sell it, right? I mean, how do you sell it for a lot of money if you can't verify that it is the thing that was stolen, right? It is the real USB drive. And then you're putting a lot of faith in the buyer. And to do something that high stakes, you would have to be getting a lot of money. At least it seems to me, right? Like, I don't know. I haven't thought this through enough because I had no intentions of stealing and reselling the level of concern USB drive. But if you were to do that, it would seem to me if you're going to take that risk, you would want to sell it for a lot of money because the stakes are so high. Maybe they were just really desperate for something, or maybe they just really wanted to have it for themselves, just to know that they had it. And that was it. And that was the only motivation and incentive they needed. But again, hard to wrap your head around. I think they implied like there's more in there than the song. I mean, I think what would be on there is sort of behind the scenes footage. It's not the song, it's stuff from recording the video. And I mean, it seems really weird to me that they would display it without having either backups or it being completely wiped. If there's actual footage on there. But part of it is that there might, if there is actual footage, if they somehow just didn't delete all of this stuff off of it before displaying it in a, you know, showcase like this where it could easily be stolen. It could be behind the scenes stuff from filming Level of Concern and, you know, show the inside of their house and their family and stuff like that. But again, I think the band is so big, they've got, you know, their PR team and everything like that. Someone would have brought up the fact that if you're going to display it in a showcase like this, you have to wipe anything that might be problematic on it. Like if one of the shots showed their street address or something, right? I think more likely it's just that the USB itself, being the thing that was featured in the music video, is an important part of the story. I mean, it'd be like if someone stole the jacket that Clancy wears in Jumpsuit or something like that. It's not necessarily because there's a lot of stuff hidden in the pockets of the jacket, but it's the jacket that he wore in Jumpsuit. It's the USB drive from the Of Concern music video. So they want to have it simply because of that. The band wants to keep it because of the history that it contains. Perligo, did anything ever come up from Breach Digital Remains and all the random numbers? Not that I'm aware of. No, I wasn't really paying close attention to all of that. Kind of in similar fashion to how I am not super on board with the triple album theory. And I thought there was more weight to a double album theory because they had teased that there was going to be more music and stuff like that. I don't know that I'm necessarily on board with the idea that there's stuff to decode in the Breach Digital Remains, even though I was on board with the idea that there was stuff to decode from the Clancy one. Again, the circumstances for Clancy, we were missing a music video that they'd said would come out and hadn't come out. It was very delayed. And so then there were all these clues and stuff like that. And it seemed like, okay, well, they gave us this thing, which is new. So let's run with it and see if there's anything we can decode and uncover. And that'll help us find this music video that is just missing. I don't feel like there's anything comparable for Breach, right? People have talked about, well, maybe there's a music video for Drag Path that we're missing. I mean, I'm not going to deny there is a slim possibility that that is the case, but I think it's very unlikely given that they haven't teased that at all. And so because of that, I don't know that there's really necessarily much to decode from the Breach Digital Remains in this instance. But yeah, I do remember, I think way back September, October, people were looking through it again and trying to piece together things and find a new puzzle. I don't think anything ever came from it. I haven't heard anything more about it. I wasn't really following up with that because I didn't think there was much weight to put in it. Do you think next album we'll have a reference to the stolen Level of Concern album or USB, like when the girls stole the drum and that was referenced in Center Mass? Maybe, but probably not, because we don't really have a soundbite for that unless they do a sequel called The Leveling Up Concern, and it's just reading the post from them about the missing USB over some somber music. I don't think I ever confirmed with you what's your favorite song from Silver and why. Echo Chamber. I love the piano. Love the theme of the song. Love the subject matter. It's a beautiful song. Yeah, I love the melody of it. I love the sound of that piano, and I love the message. Like, I love what it's talking about, right? The content of the song. But I love the way the album opens. I mean, the veil into Reanimate, into Fragile is a fantastic opening to an album. That was really well done. I mean, one of my favorite things about JD is the way that they are an album band, right? They're very focused on albums, which is rare these days. And then also the way they build out their albums, the songs often flow from one to the next seamlessly, and that's really cool. It rewards listening to the album all the way through in order. Do they ever say what the deep distorted voice is supposed to be in the songs? Welcome back to Trench. Watch it. Where are you? It's been a little while. It sounds like the Bishop's voice, not sure. I think during the Blurryface era, that was definitely confirmed to be Blurryface, and presumably that transfers over into the Trench era and beyond, as Blurryface becomes known as Nico or a Bishop, right? So yeah, I think it is Bishop's voice.